What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today is very exciting. Finally gonna get the engine built up for RuSTi, the abandoned STI that we found sitting in the side of a garage where it sat for 2 years, untouched. Very happy to finally get power plant back in this thing, get it out on the road where it belongs. So I have a bunch of parts to get this short block back together. I should say to assemble the long block because our short block is 100% assembled. Where you're gonna be utilizing the factory rods, pistons, and crankshafts. So this is gonna stay stock, and then everything else will build up with some new goodies. So what we're gonna be replacing on the short block itself, we got a new water pump, we got all new idlers for the timing belt kit, we got a Killer Bee oil pickup and baffle, which is right in here. Company 23 sent us their new timing belt kit, which I'm super excited to try out, timing belt kit and water pump. I guess that brings me to a little shout out to two companies that have been supporting all of our builds. So one, Company 23, and two, Not Bad Motorsport. Company 23 obviously provides all the tools that we use to break into these Subaru engines, a lot of specialty stuff that's super high quality. And yeah, I use their tools every time I take down or really do anything on these Subaru blocks. So huge shout out to them. They just came out with the timing belt kit, which I've heard really good things about. A lot of the stuff is sourced from Japan, and yeah, it appears really high quality, so I'm excited to try that out. Not Bad Motorsport, I get pretty much everything from them. You guys are wondering where I get all the parts for the red hatch. Even this hatch, we pretty much get everything through Not Bad Motorsport. Trevor's been a huge help with both the builds, so if you guys are looking for freaking anything, like from IAG to Killer Bee to anything, he offers fantastic deals on all those parts. He's actually offering a little special right now, so if you buy like Killer Bee oil pan setup, he'll offer free powder coating to go along with it. And he's doing that with quite a few different deals, so be sure to hit up Trevor. You can find him on notbadmotorsport.com, or I just reach out to him on Facebook. It's easiest for me. And then, yeah, he can send you an invoice for whatever you need. That's it. So with all that being said, let's get to building up this long block. Just gonna slap you on the tripod and we'll get to work. Let's go, baby. We now have the oil pan on, the new pickup and baffle by Killer Bee, and then we got our Company 23 water pump on there, and we are ready to get heads on this bad boy. So over here, we have our freshly machined cylinder heads. For those wondering, we had Mancuso Machine in Pikeville, North Carolina, get these things done for us. So if you're over here near the Goldsboro area looking for a machine shop, hit up my guy Mike Mancuso, and he can get you all sorted with machine work. As far as head gaskets, we're gonna be running some JE Pro Seals. I had actually a few left over that I was gonna run in the red hatch, but we ended up running Cooper rings in there. So yeah, these have just been sitting in the closet. Might as well make them work on here. So we're also gonna be using stock head bolts. We don't have a crazy power goal on this car, obviously. So yeah, let's get these heads on. We'll go from there. We just got our head bolts torqued. I did follow the stock head bolt torque method, which has its own sequence. So you got A, B, C, D, E, F, and essentially you would torque. You set it to 2 different torque specs first. It's like 35 and 51 or something like that. I have it on my phone. Actually, I have it right here. I can bring it up. So we got 22 and 51. So you do 22 through the sequence, and you do 51 through the sequence, and then you back them off by 180, then torque them to 36 in that sequence, torque all bolts to 90 degrees, and then 45 degrees, and then top it off, just torque the last AB to 45 degrees as well, and you are good to go. Now we just gotta get our cams, cam seals, cam caps, and valve covers on, and we'll be good with this side. We can move to the opposite side. All right, first side is now 100% complete from block to valve cover. Now we've got to flip it over and do the other side. It's the next day now. Got pretty late last night. Decided to go eat some dinner, get some sleep, had to work today. But we're home now and ready to get the rest of this lung block completed. Last night we were able to get one side from block to valve cover complete. So let's flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. We'll just run through it really quick and knock that out. And then we can get on to adding stuff to the top of the block, maybe the exhaust manifold on the bottom. And just keep adding on until it's ready to drop into the car. We now have a 100% complete long block, valve cover to valve cover. We're ready to essentially just deck this thing out with everything that has to go on it. Everything we kind of got sitting over here. We got our cam gears, intake manifold, exhaust manifold and up pipe, which is over there. TGVs, inlet, yeah, everything. So I think first, there is a proper way to do this, or else you'll be putting things on, taking things off, because, you know, certain things you can't put on without the other, and yada yada. So we need to make a run to the parts store and pick up some hoses. I do have an AOS inside for this car. I did buy it secondhand, so some of the hoses are already cut. And you guys know when we run the AOSs, we delete that coolant overflow tank that kind of sits up on top on the intake manifold. So in order to do that, you kind of got to do a little bit of customizing with the hoses. And I'll show you guys how that all works. It's really super simple, just to flow the coolant from the water pump to the AOS, from the AOS to the turbo, turbo to the back of the head, and that's it. So we'll make a run to the parts store in the morning, pick up some 5/8 fuel injection line, and I think 1/2 inch heater hose. I think, yeah, 1/2 inch is the coolant, so you're gonna run heater hose. 5/8 is for the breathers, and you're gonna want fuel injection line so it doesn't create moisture in the heater hose. I made that mistake last time, and it put a bunch of water in my block. If you guys remember when we gutted the motor on the red hatch, there was a bunch of water in there, and couldn't figure out why for the longest time, but that's kind of the conclusion we came to. So don't run heater hose for your oil breathers. I guess tonight what we can do is get our exhaust manifold on. I'll get the little AVCS solenoids on the bottom, and that way everything on the bottom of the block's good. We should be able to get timing situated as well. I don't see how that would interfere with anything on the top of the block, so we should be good there. With all that being said, let's get the block flipped over and we'll just start piecing this thing together. Everything besides an oil filter is now installed at the bottom of this block. We got all the heat shields on with the exhaust manifold, cleaned up the oil pan, cleaned up all the cobwebs, tried to clean everything up as best we could. Now we gotta get this thing rotated back over, and then we can start working on timing and the top of the block. But yeah, bottom side, it's good to go, minus an oil filter. Well, boys, I think I messed up. I've been spending the last 2.5 hours trying to get a cam gear on, and I couldn't get it. And I couldn't figure out why. And then it hit me that I believe the left and right cams they're different lengths. Now obviously I know that the intake and the exhaust cams are different lengths, but I didn't know that there was a difference between the left and the right. I think the driver's side of the car are actually supposed to be a little bit longer, because if you look behind the passenger side, you can see they stick out quite a bit, and over here they don't stick out as much. So I think the shorter one is supposed to go on this side, because you don't really need a very long cam to stick out here to get the gear on. As you can see, it'll sit on there just like that. These ones are too short, so when I put the cam on, it's actually bottoming out on the cam cap, and I can't get it on all the way. So unfortunately, that means we gotta pull the valve cover, pull the cam caps, pull all the cams out, swap them over, and then slap them back in, re-RTV everything, and yeah, go from there. It kind of sucks. I'm gonna get cleaned up. We'll pick up on this tomorrow. It's like 11 at night. I still haven't eaten dinner yet, so yeah, we'll put it aside, pick up on it tomorrow with a fresh mind. Having a fresh mindset is a game changer. If I went to do this tonight, I'd probably just end up getting irritated, aggravated, and just give up on it anyways. So we'll pick up on it tomorrow. All right, it's the next morning now. I'm just gonna jump right into this thing, get our cam swapped, and then we can get this thing timed once and for all.
Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see.
All right, we got both sides stripped down. I did go ahead and pull the buckets, and I guess, you know, this whole thing was kind of a blessing, because I pulled the buckets and found quite a bit of like machining metal shavings behind the buckets. So I went ahead and cleaned the heads entirely. That just must have been some stuff that didn't get out when it was dumped in the tank. So yeah. Guess it was a good thing we pulled this thing back apart. This side's pretty much ready to slap the cams in, cam caps, reseal everything, and we're good to go. This side, I still have to get our buckets back in. We have them down there. Also, if you pull your buckets out, make sure you keep them in order, because they are all different sizes to set your valve lash. So if you mismatch them and put them back in, think everything's gonna be good, it's not. So make sure you keep them in order. Now, coming over here, I have our cams, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about with the different lengths. So notice how these two cams have a longer little piece here than these guys. So these have to go on the driver's side of the block, and the shorter ones go on the passenger side, turbo side of the block. Learn something new every day, I guess. I guess it was a good thing we pulled this apart though, but now let's get it back together, all resealed, and hopefully then we can get our cam gears on without an issue.
I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.
Just finished up the turbo side again. I'm gonna go ahead, do the other side, and get us back to where we left off, and then we'll go from there. We now have our cam gears 100% installed. That was a whole lot easier now that the cams are actually in there right. So Bolts torqued down, and we are ready to get our timing belt kit on. So this is Company 23's new timing belt kit. Essentially, it comes with everything you need. So you got your belt, your tensioner, your idlers, and yeah, that's about it. They also sell the water pump. This is a Company 23 water pump, and they have their name right there. Pretty cool. So everything seems to be sourced from Japan. Seems pretty legit, and yeah, stoked to give this thing a try. So let's get all these idlers unwrapped. We'll get them bolted on, and then we can set our timing with the belt.
Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly, and I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that finally feels like home. Oh, oh, oh. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now. To where we started out. Get me out of now.
I made that way more difficult on myself than I really needed it to be. I don't know why I did it that way, but there are easier ways to get that belt on. I made that probably look really, really difficult. But yeah, if you just slide it over the cam gears and then do the idlers, it's easy. I don't know why, I don't know. Don't do it that way. There's easier ways to do it. I've done a lot of different videos showing timing, but it's pretty simple, especially when you have a nice new belt. You line up the dotted lines with the little line on the top of the crank pulley, and then that lines up to the little line on the oil pump, which might be kind of hard to see. There you go. And then you have a line on top of this cam, which lines up with that line there, and also the line on the cam pulley itself. And then same thing here, you got a little line on the side of the cam, lines up with the line here, which lines up with a little cutout on the timing cover. And same deal with this side. So once you get them all kind of lined up, what I like to do is spin the motor over a few times, make sure everything's still lined up. Your lines on the timing belt will not be lined up. You just want to ensure that the lines on the cam gear still line up with the marks on the timing case. And yeah, same thing here. Line up the mark on the crank pulley with the line on the oil pump. The lines on the belt will not line up unless you spin this thing like 4 million times. But once you do that and everything appears to still line up, you go ahead, pull your little grenade pin out, and then you should be good to get our front timing cover on. All right, spun her around about 4 times. You can see our lines here still line up. Our line on the top of our cam gear lines up with the mark on the timing case. Crank lines up with the oil pump, and these line up here, and they line up there. Now, most cases, I believe it's this side, these 2 lines will be just a tad bit off. That's fine. If they're just a tad bit off and everything else is lined up, you're good to go. I've put together tons of motors like that, and yeah, it's no big deal. This motor actually is perfectly straight, feels pretty healthy, so yeah, real happy with how this one came out. And with all that being said, now we can go ahead and pull our little grenade pin out, just like that. Now our tensioner is engaged, and this motor is ready to get fully assembled. We really have 2 more things we have to install real quick. We got the little covers for the cam gears and then the timing cover itself. So let's get that slapped on, and then we'll call it a day. All we have left to do on this motor is get our intake manifold, coolant crossover, some hoses, little stuff like that, wiring harness, get all that assembled, because I like to have this thing 100% put together when we drop it in the car, because it's easier to work on it out here than it is in the car. And of course we got to get the fuel lines in there. We are running stock lines. Those are a pain either way you do it with the manifold and the hard lines, so we'll get that in. But for now, I have to make a run to the parts store, like I said, pick up some hoses and some crush washers, little stuff like that, and then we'll finish this. But I'm gonna wrap up this video right here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you in the next one. Peace out. See y'all later.